Hey everyone, Mitch coming from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a very exciting episode for you on an Omega level commander. A commander that is, well, incredibly powerful and a massive threat. And yeah, this one definitely lives up to the name. I, of course, am talking about Rowan, Scion of War. A commander that's going to make a massive impact on the format. A 4/2 human wizard with menace that costs 1 black and a red. Tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red costs X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Gross. So incredibly gross because, well, it is incredibly easy for us to lose life. In fact, there are certain ways that we can essentially choose the exact amount of life that we want to lose. And by doing that, we can make Rowan essentially make all of our spells cost nearly nothing. So then we can just have a giant, amazing turn. We're casting spell after spell after spell, probably gaining more life, you know, losing even more life, maybe untapping, doing it again, and then all of a sudden just casting a massive spell that takes all of our opponents out at once after we probably draw our entire deck. So yeah, Rowan is a gross commander, one that is incredibly powerful, even on a budget. And yeah, this deck is incredibly budget friendly. According to Moxfield, just $22.80. Every single card in this deck, yeah, I took it a step further, is 50 cents or less outside of the commander, which is $8.19. So actually, if you already have the commander, or if you want to proxy the commander, $8.19, take that out. It's like a, what, $14 rest the deck 99 cards. Now, keep in mind that does not include the basic lands, but you already have those, or you can just get them in bulk for cheap, or just borrow some from your friends or your LGS. And also, that doesn't include the cost of shipping, but again, the entire cost of the rest of the deck, right, 99 cards plus the commander is $22.80. Very, very budget friendly regardless. And again, one that can pack an incredible punch. Now, with all that said, let's jump into the tactics. So now to start things off in tactic number 1, this means war. And of course, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2, tap, sacrifice, go get a basic land. Into play tapped, a fantastic way to start off our ramp package. Secondly, we've got Everflowing Chalice. Does cost 0, but we're probably going to put more than that into that most likely. Multi-kicker for 2. It's going to tap for half the amount of mana that we put into it. Then we've got Charcoal Diamond, very simple mana rock. Again, efficient, enters battlefield tapped, taps for a black. We also have Fire Diamond, does the exact same thing, but taps for a red. Belwar Stone, which comes into play untapped and can tap for both of our colors, usually depending on our opponent's land situation. Then we've got Fractured Power Stone. It's got the planar die, don't worry about that. All that matters is this enters the battlefield untapped, and we can tap it right away for mana. Mind Stone can do the exact same thing, but we can also pay 1 and tap and sacrifice to draw a card if we need to. There's Obsidian Obelisk, enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a colorless mana, or can tap for any mana of any color as long as we're spending it on a multicolored spell like our commander. And then finally got Prismatic Lens. This can help us filter our mana or just tap for a colorless as well. A fantastically low to the ground ramp package. But now let's move on to tactic number 2, fire starters. And yeah, we're going to make things go a boom when we play Inner Fire. This is a card that says, hey, you know what? Let's just turn the notch up just a little bit on this game. Sorcery for 3 and a red, but we're pretty much never going to pay that. Add a red to your mana pool for each card in your hand. Again, our commander can easily reduce that cost down to just a single red mana. And also, like I mentioned before, we've got plenty of ways to draw an absurd amount of cards. And when we do, this can give us an absurd amount of mana. Next up, Visions of Ruin. A sorcery for 3 and a red, exact same cost. And again, with our commander, probably going to cost us a single red mana. For each opponent, they're going to sacrifice an artifact. When they do, we create a treasure token, and we can flash this back for what would be 10 mana, but again, it's probably just going to be 2 mana because of our commander. So yeah, again, a way to essentially say, hey, here's some extra treasures just lying around that we can utilize for even more spells. Again, our commander can help us handle the generic mana cost in most of our spells, and now all of a sudden, these can help us just keep going forward in the game. Next up, Spiteful Repossession. An incredible card that costs 4 and a red. Again, probably just a single red mana once we're set up properly. Deals damage each opponent controls more lands than equal difference. Then create a number of treasure tokens, equal damage this way. Outside of Wayfarer's Bauble, we have no land ramp, really. So yeah, if we're playing against a green, commander player, they're going to have more lands than us. And a lot of other players might. And if they all have green, great, good for them. All of a sudden, take some damage. Also give us a ton of treasures so we can utilize to keep our turn going. But now we've talked about our ramp package and our rituals, let's move on to tactic number 3, It's My Life, and it definitely is because these cards help us determine what our life total is going to be. How much life do we lose in the turn so that we can utilize our commander to its best ability? First up, we got Arco Flagellant, a 3/1 human that has pay 3 life. It gains indestructible on a turn, so this can protect itself, and again, it is a life-determining card. It is a life-loss machine for us again, which in many scenarios wouldn't be good, but with this commander, it is incredible being able to say, yeah, I'd like to lose 30 life. Essentially, whatever variable 3 you want to lose that much life, and all of a sudden your commander is going to tap for an absurd amount of value. Moving on, even more, pinpointy, Deepwood Ghoul. Pay 2 life, regenerate it. So again, a way to protect itself, and also in variables of 2. So we can get a bit more specific, but really specific within the series Poltergeist. Pay 1 life, regenerate. So yeah, basically, hey, you're at 40. What do I want to go down to? 5? Okay, cool. All my spells cost 35 less to cast. And yeah, there's going to be some that we can do some pretty absurd things with. We also have Soul Channeling, which can actually protect our commander. Enchant Creature, pay 2 life, regenerate. Enchant Creature, again, does not have a limit on how many times we can actually activate this, so regenerate your commander as many times as you need to. Next up, Wall Blood. Pay 1 life +1/+1 until end of turn, so a really good blocker for us, and also, again, a very good pinpointy way to determine what our life total is going to be. Next up, Carrion Hollow. This is a weird one, but bear with me. Pay 1 life +2, -1 until end of turn. So this one, you'd think you could only activate it twice, but actually you can keep responding to that activation. So those are basically on the stack and saying, okay, cool, my Carrion Howler is going to get +40, -20. But all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, no, it's gone. It's gone. So yeah, you still get that life loss though, as long as you're stacking it up properly. So yeah, another pinpointy way to determine what your life's going to be. Moving on, Soul Drinker. Pay 3 life, get a counter on this, so this can become quite the heavy hitter for you, but again, more importantly, utilize it to get your life total down. An even bigger life cost, but again, that's okay, it's going to be Marrow Bats. Pay 4 life, regenerate it, so a good blocker for us. And yeah, I mean, it's quite costly to regenerate it, but again, we don't really care about that. We care about losing a lot of life, so again, with variables of 4. Speaking of which, we've got Shadowcloak Vampire, pay 2 life, so a bit more, reasonable of a variable, and it gains flying until end of turn. So we just give it super flying, right? You get flying again and again and again and again and again. Again, what matters is we can choose where our life total is going to be, so our commander can have a massive tap effect. Next up, let's move on to our next tactic. Do that again. Tactic number 4. Yeah, we've got some ways to go a little easier on that life loss if we want to, because we can utilize threat and type effects like Active Treason. Gain control to our creature till end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste till end of turn. Notably, it does not say opponent controls. It's not like gain control of a creature and opponent controls. No, any creature. So that includes our commander, and now we can just untap our commander for basically, what, a red mana, right? Because that's going to cost 2 less easily with our commander's tap ability. Untap our commander, do it again. So again, if we lost 20 life this turn, great, cool. We tap our commander for 20, use this, untap our commander, do it again. All of a sudden, our spells cost 40 less. Absolutely crazy. And obviously, these are flexible as well, that, hey, if your opponent has an Eldrazi, go steal that Eldrazi and swing it at them with them. Anyways, next up, Bloody Betrayal. Basically, exact same thing, but you also make a blood token. So yeah, there's some extra card selection value there. Furnace Reigns, again, nearly the exact same thing, except for whenever this creature deals counter to a player or a battle, you get a treasure token. So sure, that might actually come in handy, because again, your commander does have Menace. If you really feel like swing with your commander instead of tapping your commander, cool, go for it. Next up, Mark of Mutiny. Same thing, except for the creature also is going to get a counter on it, +1/+1. Then there's Pax Betrayal. We don't have Wolves or Werewolves, so the exact same thing as Threaten, essentially. Then Price of Loyalty. Hey, if you utilize a treasure to actually cast this, cool, that creature also gets +2/+0. Again, the extra little values on these are nice. They really don't matter all that much. The important thing is, all these are basically going to cost a single red mana at the end of the day, and they're going to untap our commander so we can tap our commander again, like, the original Threaten. Again, what all the other Threaten effects are named after, just gain control of a creature, untap it, gains haste, do whatever you want to do. Then there's Involuntary Deployment, a fantastic one, because this one does cost 1 more, but again, with this commander, basically it's going to cost the exact same thing again, just a single red mana, gain control of a creature, and you also get a treasure token, so you basically get that mana back, essentially, right? You can even kind of convert that mana, that red mana, to a black mana if you need to. Then there's Tentative Connection. This one's going to cost basically just a single red mana every single time, as long as our commander is in play, because our commander does have Menace. Gain control of that creature, untap it, give it haste. And finally, perhaps the best one though, is Trader's Greed. Gain control to our creature till end of turn, untap it, give it haste, and also on top of that, oh, you get 2 mana of any one color. So basically, you are ritualing with this as well, on top of untapping your commander. Now let's move on to tactic number 5, digging deep. And dig deep we shall, because hey, X spells are pretty incredible with this commander. Now we've got some non-X spells that can help out too, but let's dig down into our deck and just get the exact cards we need to win, like, with March of Reckless Joy. Now, as an extra cost to cast the spell, we can exile any of our red cards from our hand. It's going to cost us to cast for each card exiles way. We probably don't need to do that, though, because, again, our commander is going to reduce that cost by a ton, that X value by a ton. Exile the top X card to your library. You may play up to 2 of those cards until the end of your next turn. 2 cards is all we need to win the game. We only need like 1 card most time just to win the game. So if this can just dig down into our entire deck, cool. We've got 2 cards that can take out all of our opponents and just win from there. Next up, Skeletal Scrying. This one, do be careful with, but it can also just help you as well. There's a cost to cast it. Exile X cards from your graveyard. Draw X cards, lose X life. Again, yeah, we lose more life, but again, if you're planning for that, great. Just draw X cards, cool. Get some cards out of your graveyard, that's okay. Draw some cards, use them to win. Moving on, Community of Lava. No real downside to this one. Exile the top X cards your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. So again, yeah, we can just play all the cards out of there essentially, most likely once we're set up properly, and just say, hey, look, there's our entire library. Have fun, win from there. Then we've got Cut of the Prophets again. We're going to be losing some life with this, but that's okay. You draw X cards, lose X life. Also, it's got Casualty 3 if we feel like, copying it, we really can. But yeah, being able to say, yeah, okay, I planned for this. All right, I'm going to, I'll use Soul Drinker or whatnot to lose 12 life, and all of a sudden, okay, I'll tap my commander. All right, I'll use this for 12. I'll draw 12, lose 12. Okay, now I've lost 24 this turn. I drew into a threaten effect. I'll threaten my commander, untap, do it again. All of a sudden, all my cards cost so much less to cast, and I've got a giant hand full of cards. Moving on, Damnable Pact, a bit more flexible and actually can be a finisher as well. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. So while you need to dig through your own deck, great, do it. Target yourself. Again, plan for that with the life you're losing, but do that. And then, hey, once you're set up properly, once you've got like 40 plus for that X value, essentially, yeah, just take out an opponent. Goodbye to them. Then we've got a much simpler card. Seize the Spoils. We'll slow things down just a little bit. Discard a single card, draw 2, and also make a treasure token. So again, this one's basically just like, hey, a free looting effect in a way, because again, our commander is going to reduce that generic cost to basically 0, and we get that mana back with that treasure. Speaking of which, that and then some with Pirate's Pillage. Again, 3 generic mana, reduced down to 0, just a single red mana. Discard a card, draw 2, and make 2 treasures. So you, again, basically get a ritual effect out of this. Then we've got Dregs of Sorrow, an incredible card with this deck. X4 in a black. Destroy X target non-black creatures, draw X cards. This is basically going to be destroy every single non-black creature that you don't like. All those creatures that your opponents have that are non-black, you're like, take them out right now. Draw that many cards. Basically a one-sided board wipe that, again, just fills your hand with some more juicy cards, which might be like Inspired Tinkering. Hey, 4 in a red. Again, probably say single red mana. Exile top 3 cards of your library until the next turn. If you play those cards, you get 3 treasure tokens. So again, another massive ritual effect for you, basically, that is going to be like, okay, cool, you just net 2 mana and also get the top 3 cards of your library to be able to play. Huge. Speaking of huge, Soulfire Eruption. Sorcery for would be 9 mana, but again, with this commander, it's going to be 3. Red, red, red. Choose any number of target creatures, planeswalkers, and our players. For each of them, exile the top card of your library. Then it's going to deal damage to that card's converted mana cost equal that permanent or player. Then you may play the exile card on your next turn. So basically, hey, just choose everything, essentially, except for probably your commander. Choose every single thing out there and say, let's deal damage to all those things off the top of my library. So just get all those cards off the top of your library. Again, if there's like 20 targets, cool. Top 20 cards, deal some damage, sure, but also you can play those cards. So it's a giant draw spell as well. And finally, we've got Apex of Power. Again, would be 10 mana, but again, it's only going to be 3. Red, 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 most likely. Exile top 7 cards of your library until the end of your turn. You may pass those cards, spells from among them, which is great. Again, you can play cards from among them. That's huge. Top 7, again, for 3 mana. Lovely. On top of that, though, hey, if you cast it from your hand, which you're going to be doing, add 10 mana of any one color. So all of a sudden, you get a giant influx of mana as well. Yeah, a massive ritual effect on top of card selection. What's not to love about that? But let's move on to tactic number 6, Pain and Gain, because, well, life lost is a good thing, but sometimes we want to gain some of that life back so we can really keep things going. So let's do that with Battle at the Bridge, an X mana spell, a sorcery that says, well, you can improvise if you really want to. More importantly, though, target creature gets -X on a turn, and you gain X life. So take out a creature, very easily take out basically any creature on the board, and all of a sudden gain, 20 plus life, essentially, probably more life than you actually even lost with your commander, because you probably threatened your commander, untap, did it again, and all of a sudden, yeah, you just got 40 life out of this, and all of a sudden you can lose even more life in this turn to ensure that you can do even bigger things. Moving on, Erebos' Intervention, a flexible card. Choose 1. Target creature gets -X to all turn. You gain X life, so again, exact same thing. Or exile up to twice X target cards from graveyard. So if you're playing against a Reanimator deck, they're going to be in big trouble. Next up, March of Wretched Sorrow, again, kind of the same thing as that red spell earlier. You can exile black cards from your hand. That's fine. We don't really need to do that because, again, our commander can reduce that X to a lot. It's going to deal X damage to our creature or planeswalker. You gain X life. So, again, take out a creature or planeswalker and gain an absurd amount of life. Speaking of which, Swallowing Plague. For 1 black mana more, X damage to our creature and you gain X life. Again, just being able to gain an X amount of life can be massive to set yourself up for just a huge play. Next up, one that can actually win us the game. Their number is Legion. X, black, 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 black. So again, basically it's going to be a 4 mana spell for us. You get X, tap, black, Necron, warrior, artifact, creature tokens, and you gain life equal to the number of artifacts you control. Exile this. You can also cast from your graveyard if you need to. But yeah, basically just making a massive army and then all of a sudden just gaining that much, maybe even more life depending on the number of artifacts you have. So yeah, that can just win you the game there. Also, Great Merchant of Asphodel, always going to be a good card when it comes to wanting to gain life. Gary says, hey, ETB, depending on the devotion, I'll drain each other opponent that much, and then you gain that much life. So yeah, have fun gaining a good amount of life with that. Shard the Nightbringer, this can help with devotion. For 5 black, 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 again, just gonna be 3 mana essentially though. An 8/8 flyer, for again, 3 mana for you, enters the battlefield if you cast, the target opponent loses half their life rounded up. So a great way to set them up to get taken out. Then also you gain life, your life lost this way. So that can be a ton of life, again, getting you a lot of life back, setting your opponent up for failure. But let's move on to tactic number 7, Pain and Pain, because yeah, we can put our opponents out of their misery now, and we might just do so with Devil's Play. X damage to any target, and we can also flash it back. So essentially, this can usually just take out 2 opponents. Be like, okay, you're gone, and you're gone. Because all we need to do is just pay a single red mana that first time, and then 3 red mana that second time to take players out. Absolutely huge. Next up, we can take all players out at the exact same time with Earthquake. Now this one, you need to be a little careful when you use it. X damage each creature without flying at each player. Again, your commander doesn't have flying, of course. But yeah, you can use it as a board wipe earlier if you need to. Or yeah, just say, okay, I just used one of those giant life gain spells. I'm at like 60 now, you're all at 40. I've got 40 reduction. So yeah, let's just cast Earthquake for 40. You're all gone. I lose 40 life, I go down to 20, but I'm still alive and you're all gone. So yeah, make sure you're doing that. Next up, Fall of the Titans. Speaking of taking 2 players out, instant speed, surge cost of just X and a red. So if you cast another spell this turn, it's going to have a cost of just X and a red instead of XX and a red. X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures and or players. It's probably going to be players. You're probably going to fireball 2 players' faces off. Speaking of which, Giant's Eliminating Inferno makes it a bit simpler. Take out all your opponents. Legendary sorcery, X damage to each of up to 3 targets. So yeah, all 3 opponents are going to be gone very easily. Again, it is going to be so easy for you once you're set up properly to be like, okay, yeah, my commander made it so that my spells cost like 60 less. So all of a sudden, 60 damage to 3 opponents' faces, they're going to have no chance at all. Molten Disaster, speaking of no chance, kicker for a single red mana, and you probably want to kick it. If it's kicked, it's got split second. So essentially, if it's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So they can't interact with this essentially outside of like a random morph creature effect. X damage each creature without flying in each player. So essentially, again, just an Earthquake. Just be able to take out everything at once, and your opponents cannot stop it. So if you have more life than them, you've got the, I would say, mana reduction for this. Your opponents are just gone. Moving on. Profane Command. Choose 2. Target player loses X life. So again, that's a way to take out a player. Return target creature cards. Convert mana cost X less greater to the battlefield so we can get something back. Target creature gets -X/-X, or give creatures fear until end of turn, essentially. Yeah, most likely take a player out, maybe get something big back, or maybe actually just take out a creature if you need to. Next up, Exorcine, X2 and a red, Ravenous, so we can draw a card if this comes in play with 5 counters on it. And then when it enters the battlefield, X damage each creature and each other creature and each player. So this will survive, and other creatures will not, and neither will the other players as well. And then finally got Cut to Ribbons, a flexible card. First up, 4 damage to our creature to start off. That's nice, take something out. More importantly though, Ribbons out of our graveyard with that Aftermath. Each opponent loses X life. So yeah, a nice way to just say, okay, you're all gone. I don't care what my life total is, you just are all gone. But let's move on to tactic number 8, speed things up. We're going to talk about some ways to, well, speed things up. First up, we got Rising of the Dead enchantment for 3 mana. Creature control of haste. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. So a way to essentially say, I'm just going to get this out ahead of time, ensure that I'm ready to go as soon as I'm ready to just, well, win, basically. You know, you don't even have to get your commander out earlier with this kind of a strategy. If you've got this in play, you can just kind of wait, essentially get your commander out exactly when you need to, then tap your commander after you lose a bunch of life, and then just get going from there. Next up, Coveted Prize, a way to essentially say, you know what? I don't really need to dig through my entire deck to get the exact card that I need to win right now. Let's just go get it right away. Now, this one costs 4 and a black. It does cost once cast for creatures in your party. That doesn't really matter all that much. What matters is essentially, hey, it's just a tutor. Go get a card out of your library. This one's just going to cost a single black mana, again, because your commander reduced that cost down to just 1. So essentially, once you're set up properly, just cast this, go get the exact card that you need to win in that situation. Just take all your opponents out. Again, Giant Zillion Inferno, whatever it's going to be, take your opponents out with one fell swoop. Now let's move on to tactic number 9, though, with break stuff. Now, I've already talked about plenty other ways to break things, but we still have some more ways to do that, though. First up, release the Gremlins, a great one-story X-Target artifacts, create X-2-2 Gremlins. So essentially, yeah, take out basically all your artifacts your opponents control. Also make an army that can also just win you the game then and there. Moving on, Red Sun Twilight. This one is huge, unexpectedly huge. X, red, red. Show up to X-Target artifacts. If X is 5 or more for each artifact stored this way, create tokens copy of it. Those tokens gain haste, exile, and begin next 10 step. This one is tricky because it's like, hey, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of all your things, but also, oh, I just got rid of every single artifact, including the mana rocks. Now I just get copies of them with haste, and I can just utilize it all right away. Utilize all those juicy artifacts right away. Again, this can be a massive ritual effect for you, too. You even might want to get rid of your own artifacts now. That's only temporary, right? Those tokens. But still, if your artifacts are tapped and your mana rocks are tapped, and you're like, you know what? Let's just destroy everything, get extra mana, and win on this turn. Finally, very simple, very effective, feed the swarm. Destroy target creature or enchantment opponent controls. You lose life, you let permanent mana value. Again, losing life is a good thing for this deck. So yeah, this commander will just love that indeed. But now that we've talked about every single non-land permanent in this deck, let's quickly go through a great land with Song, Mad Treachery. An MDFC land on the backside, enters battlefield tapped, can tap for a red. Front side, incredible card. Gain control target creature until on turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until on turn. You know what that is. A threatened effect. Again, even on a land, we have a threatened effect. So again, for just red, essentially, we're going to be able to untap our commander and tap again for a massive play. But now as this episode is coming to a close, well, it's my turn to hear from you, so let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on it. If you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Again, even though the commander is like over $8, it's still an incredibly budget-friendly deck, so make sure you're checking that out. But yeah, hope that you enjoyed the episode, and as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.